Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Marvel's Super God Game Producer. Chapter 41. After Shu Dan knocked them down one by one, sirens sounded in the distance. It seems that the police all over the world have always been like this. Like to be late, but never absent. Caw caw caw. There were several consecutive shots of drawing the gun, accompanied by words like, "Raise your hands." A police chief walked over from the queue. Taking advantage of the neon light, he took a closer look at the person in the middle and was shocked. "Shite, are you all idiots? This is Mr. Shu Dan." The police chief cursed. The capitalist police are very easy to buy. Shu Dan has never personally met a small sheriff, but from a series of relationships under the Antarctic Game Company, he will always come into contact with the police station. Therefore, the sheriff knew about the existence of Shu Dan. "I also understand very well what kind of reputation Antarctic Game Company has in the world now. Definitely not to say that the entire legal profession in the United States is like this, it is just a coincidence that this sheriff is too snobbish." Hearing the sheriff's abuse, all the surrounding police officers obediently put down their pistols. Seeing this, the police chief hurriedly apologized with a smile. "Mr. Shu Dan, I'm really sorry, my subordinates are all newcomers and they haven't seen much in the world." Shu Dan glanced at the sheriff. "I think it is true." "Haha, yes, they are really a bunch of idiots." The police chief scolded again, and then he looked at the corpses strewn about on the ground, and a few gangsters who were not completely dead. "Sorry, Mr. Shu Dan, what are these people doing? What's up? Catch a few workers and go back for interrogation, just like the fake reporter in the morning." "Hey, okay." The sheriff nodded and bowed in response. The surrounding police officers gasped when they saw the usually domineering sheriff wagging his tail in front of that man like a loyal dog. Flattering is a thing of the adult world, but what is the identity of this person who can make that pretentious sheriff flatter? I'm afraid everyone has offended someone they shouldn't, so keep your eyes open and remember not to make a second mistake in the future. One by one, they all remembered Shu Dan's face and added it to the white list in their hearts. However, with so many corpses on the ground, what should I say? This is murder. At this moment, the sheriff's abuse came again. "You, what are you still doing? These are Jin Bing's subordinates who want to murder Mr. Shu Dan. Why don't you hurry up and wait for me to clean up these gangster garbage?" The police officers were woken up by the scolding. For any issues involving Jin Bing, just blame him, regardless of whether this incident is true or not. They hurriedly carried out the few gangster thugs who were not yet dead, and sent them to the accompanying ambulance. Then the forensic doctors stepped forward and began to deal with the corpses on the ground. "Dan, are you okay?" Liwa suddenly ran over, looked at Shu Dan with a pair of big watery eyes, and asked with concern. "It's okay, let's go back," Shu Dan replied with a warm heart. The police chief tactfully did not intervene. Shu Dan couldn't help giving him a high look. With this emotional intelligence, even if there is no real material, the position will rise very quickly. However, his judgment was right. It can be said to be very accurate. It just bypassed some rigid rules and avoided a complicated investigation. The facts were right in front of him. He answered the phone in the morning. If he still misunderstood Shu Dan at this time, he really might as well be filming a bloody TV series. After the conversation between Shu Dan and Liwa was over, the police chief said again, "Mr. Shu Dan, we found that Jin He has been very active in the Clinton area recently. You must be careful and take care of yourself." "I will." "Yes, you will." Shu Dan smiled meaningfully, and suddenly asked, "If you were responsible for arresting Jin Bing, would you be promoted several levels in a row?" Hearing this, the sheriff's eyes lit up immediately. "What is this? This is an opportunity. Jin is the biggest crime boss in the United States, but the police all over the United States are very troubled, some dare not catch, some can't. He's the kind of cop who wants to catch but can't. But now that the giant Antarctic Game Company is here to help, I'm afraid. Yes, I will definitely be promoted several levels in a row, and I may even sit on the throne of the director. Then I will be able to uphold justice for everyone, especially important people like Mr. Shu Dan." Shu Dan couldn't stand the sheriff's sycophancy. He smiled and left with Liwa. The heroic deeds of one person killing a group of gangster thugs quickly spread back to Jin Bing's ears. With his tall body, he punched the computer in front of him into pieces. Then he got up, gritted his teeth, and looked down from the tall building. Go, get Bullseye back for me. Bullseye, Jin Bing's capable general, he seems to have the super ability of, hit every shot, anything thrown from his hands, there is no reason to miss it. Jin didn't want to use Bullseye, which means he's serious about it. It's just that Bullseye's head is not very good, and he has some mental problems. Although he has that ability, he is still playing with a group of mortals in a bar. In any case, Jin Bing's subordinates did not dare to neglect the order, and immediately turned and left to look for Bullseye. After he left, Jin Bing took a long and slow breath. He turned around and looked at the computer debris scattered on the ground. He sighed. What an interesting game. Mr. Shu Dan has worked so hard to make such a game, why don't I do it for you? The game he was playing just now was Warcraft. This kind of system-optimized game is addictive as soon as you touch it, it looks like marijuana, it is really fascinating. The more he played, the more he found that he was addicted to this game. Although he has already noticed this bad state, he still can't stop his body. Now not only his mind wants to play the game, but even his body is vying to play Warcraft. Fight for hegemony. This is Jin Bing's favorite word when he was young. He was not born to be the emperor of the underworld. Today's achievements are all achieved step by step. In the process, he killed countless people, he killed countless brothers, and he shed blood. He paid a very high price to be here. However, why did that person named Shu Dan, who was obviously bankrupt and had no news for several days, finally appeared like a ghost, desperate to survive, and suddenly became the boss of the famous Antarctic game company today? For the first time, Jin Bing did it by himself, shortly picking up the computer that had become a waste product on the ground. Jin Bing gave Bullseye the task of bringing Shu Dan back alive. Now he not only wants to take over Shu Dan's company, but also wants to meet this mysterious man in the end. According to the instructions, Bullseye was riding a motorcycle, and in the early hours of the morning, he was waiting on Shu Dan's only way to work. Shu Dan drives every morning, from the villa to the company. Generally speaking, it only takes 10 minutes. If there is a traffic jam, he will be late. But he's the boss, and none of that matters. Bullseye saw the supercar from a distance, and a mentally ill smile suddenly appeared on his face. He immediately started the motorcycle, went the wrong way on the road, and rushed straight towards Shu Dan's sports car. The speed of the sports car is extremely fast, and the speed of the Bullseye motorcycle is also fast. But his hands are faster. During the high-speed speeding, he reached for his belt. It turns out that it is not an ordinary belt. The belt buckle can be removed and used as flying darts. For Bullseye, a toothpick can be a deadly weapon. Not to mention this special flying darts. According to the speed of the sports car and the strength with which he threw the flying darts, he could definitely penetrate the glass in front of the sports car and hit Shu Dan's shoulder inside with one blow. When the sports car overturns, the layers of emergency protection in the high-end sports car will definitely ensure that Shu Dan is not dead. As long as he is not dead, he is considered alive. This does not violate Jin Bing's mission requirements. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is difficult to hit the driver on the seat, let alone the high-precision operation of hitting the driver's shoulder. But Bullseye just can do it. His super ability like throwing accuracy, if you say you hit the right eye, you definitely don't hit the left eye. Whizzing, flying darts cut through the air and shot towards the supercar. On the sports car, Shu Dan had already noticed the motorcycle driving in the opposite direction. Reasonably speaking, this kind of motorcycle can drive in the urban area, but it is not allowed to go on the expressway at all. Now the other party is not only on the high speed, but also going backwards, thinking with his toes, he knows that the other party has a problem. They came to assassinate him. This is the fourth wave. Due to the strengthening of the gift package, Shu Dan's spirit is very amazing. When he is driving, even if he runs 300 miles, he still feels that the time around him is flowing slowly. It seems like everything is slow. In such a situation, he can make many incredible driving skills. When he found that the man on the motorcycle waved his hand, he knew that the other party was using a hidden weapon. Immediately turn the steering wheel quickly, and make an emergency dodge in the side lane. The ultra-high performance car tires make a creaking friction sound against the ground. Under Bullseye's horrified gaze, that supercar seemed to have moved a certain distance in Shi Gengsheng's life. And his flying darts also came to nothing. What Bullseye pursued all his life was to hit the target with every shot, and any miss would be a shame to him. After all, he has some mental problems, and he is very annoyed at the shame of this miss. This is the greatest shame in his life. How shameful is it? Even if it's a fool, throwing a brick straight at the oncoming sports car can easily hit it. But he, Bullseye, also used special flying darts. The balance is not the same. He aimed at Shu Dan's shoulder, but the flying darts not only missed people, they didn't even hit the car. The opponent even took the car with him, dodging his attack. Others may not feel it, but to Bullseye, it's a scorching sarcasm. Ah, he roared, and regardless of the danger, he turned the accelerator of the motorcycle suddenly, and the speed suddenly increased. This was a desperate act. On the highway, he was heading towards a sports car. The speed is very high, and the two are about to collide, which is very dangerous. He is still accelerating at this time. Once they collide together, the car may be hit and flipped, but he on the motorcycle will definitely die into a puddle of mud. While accelerating, he reached out again, reached for the belt, and took out another flying darts. He is planning to throw it at close range. 100 meters. 50 meters. 10 meters. In just 100 meters, at the speed of a sports car, it doesn't take a few seconds at all, it's there in an instant. Seeing that the two were about to collide, Bullseye quickly turned the head of the motorcycle at the last moment and avoided the sports car in an emergency. Just when his person was parallel to the window of the driver's seat of the sports car, he finally made his move. This time, it is an excellent opportunity to start. Time seems to be frozen at this moment. The Bullseye is almost close to the car body, so the distance between the two people is very close. The distance can adjust the accuracy of throwing. If you can't hit the 10 rings from 10 meters away, then if you can't hit the 10 rings within 1 meter, you can really commit suicide. That's no different from trash. For a world-class precision thrower. He waved his hand, and the silver flying darts in his hand were about to fly out. At this critical moment, with his sharp eyesight, he seemed to see Shu Dan turning his head slightly, with a mockery on his face. Hateful. Time slowed down. Shu Dan's mocking smile was engraved in Bullseye's mind. Well, suddenly, there was a low roar from the engine of the sports car, and the whole car, as if it had a jet propeller, exploded at the limit speed, and the taillights of the car were as dazzling as streamers. Bullseye's attack failed again. This is a fatal humiliation for him. Just like a cat catching a mouse, it will not be eaten at the first time, but slowly played to death. For the first time, relying on his incredible driving skills, Shi Gingsheng moved horizontally and dodged his flying darts. This time, he humiliated his IQ severely by relying on pure super running speed. However, before he had time to make a decision, he was hit by the strong airflow following the sports car on his face, feeling like he was lacking oxygen for a while. Fortunately, there were no other vehicles behind Shu Dan, otherwise, during his short time of lack of oxygen and feeling suffocated, he might have been hit by another car and flew into the sky. Bullseye hurriedly reduced the speed of the motorcycle and used the drift to steer. When he turned his head to look for Shu Dan, there was no sign of Shu Dan, and he couldn't even see Shu Dan's license plate number. Ah, Shu Dan, I remember you. You humiliated me, I must make you pay the price. Roaring, Bullseye drove the motorcycle and chased after Shu Dan in the direction where Shu Dan disappeared. He has some mental problems, and he swears that if he doesn't kill Shu Dan today and return the shame that Shu Dan brought to him, he won't be called Bullseye. As for Jin Bing's mission, he automatically listed it on the second line. The sports car was driving at high speed, but Shu Dan freed up one hand and dialed the police station. In fact, his number has been marked by the police station and arranged for a special channel. The person who answered the phone was the very smooth sheriff yesterday. Good morning, sir. It's time to do meritorious service today, sheriff. Understood. I'll meet you right away. The sheriff responded excitedly. The greatest wish of every policeman in New York is to arrest the criminal leader Jin Bing. Some of them are definitely bought by Jin Bing and temporarily maintain their interest relationship. And this sheriff has a steelyard in his heart. After weighing the interests, he understands what kind of gains will be brought by arresting Jin. In this process, the police station may lose a little something, but compared to the benefits after the event is completed, this sacrifice is nothing. When Shu Dan drove his sports car into the urban area, the psychopath in Bullseye was still following behind. As everyone knows, police cars have slowly surrounded him. Hee Tiaozi. Bullseye sneered twice as he drove his motorcycle. In his opinion, the cops from the United States are the most incompetent, and it is not impossible to kill one or two Jishans. However, he has a limited amount of flying darts stashed in his belt and can't waste them on these scumbags. That must be the most fatal blow left for Shu Dan. He was riding a motorcycle, turned and rushed into a narrow alley, which was only more than 1 meter wide, and the police car couldn't get in at all. Then he picked up a few pieces of rubbish and rusty iron in the alley, and drove out of the alley from the other end with a sinister smile. Soon, the police came around from the other end. Bullseye smiled coldly. He threw the irregular piece of iron in his hand. The thing that had already been turned into a waste product seemed to have some magical power in his hands, and it was even faster and more precise than a bullet. Crack! The windshield of the police car was shattered, and the driver inside had his throat cut by a piece of rusted iron. Boom! Having lost its driver, the police car that had just turned a corner slammed into a nearby shop, and several police officers in the car were buckled to the ground on the spot. Originally, Shu Dan should be like this, but he escaped. Humiliation. Unforgivable. Bullseye sneered, drove the motorcycle again, and chased after Shu Dan. Boom. Suddenly a gunshot came from behind, but it is a pity that the police do not have the accuracy of the Bullseye, and they are still using pistols, and the standing design may not be able to hit them, let alone in the pursuit of high-speed movement up. Bullseye glanced back. It was the sheriff from last night who chased after him and fired the gun. As he opened fire on the street, it was like a signal, and other police officers also boldly drew out their pistols, shooting towards the Bullseye. Bullets are ruthless. No matter how proficient Bullseye is in throwing, he is not 100% dodge attribute. When surrounded by policemen in all directions, he quickly took out the remaining rusty iron pieces and the flying darts in his belt. He's already in crisis. He doesn't care about Shu Dan anymore. Whoosh whoosh. Each piece of rusted iron drew dead lines in the air. Against these incompetent the United States Police, he hits every shot 100%. With one shot, more than 10 people were killed. This allowed him to regain some confidence at least. But unfortunately, under the suppression of intensive firepower, no matter how bad the police shooting skills are, there will always be 1 or 2 bullets hitting the target. Bullseye hit. As a world-class precision thrower, being hit by a bullet is naturally a great shame. Although there were no fatal injuries, it still slowed him down. And the slowness of action, in this case, represents failure. In battle, there are only 0 and countless hits. Even if he didn't kill him with a single shot, the consequences would still be fatal. Bang bang bang. Sure enough, he was shot again in the leg. Ah! Bullseye roared, immediately abandoned the motorcycle, and dived into another alley. This is the only way he currently avoids bullets. However, when he rushed into the alley in embarrassment and planned to use the air conditioning units on the wall to go upstairs and escape, he saw a figure that made him extremely loath. Shu Dan. That's right, Shu Dan is waiting for him in this alley. This feeling is like a game designed by others, all the ways are under the control of others, and his Bullseye is like a joker, being ruthlessly teased by others. Fact. Why are you insulting me like that? Bullseye's mantra all day long is, hit the bullseye, but today, not only did he not hit a single car, he was ruthlessly teased twice on the highway, and now he is designed by someone to force him to he's at a dead end. That kind of aggrieved feeling of being unable to display all his abilities. The shame of being ruthlessly played with like a primary school student. That kind of sneer that mocked him from above. Facing Bullseye's anger, Shu Dan just shook his head indifferently, and said, Bullseye, actually, I don't want to kill you, because we are not in the same dimension at all. As for insulting you. Hee, I'm just playing casually. That's all. I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. I don't know if it's the pain in the body, the ruthless teasing by Shu Dan, or the stimulation of both, which made Bullseye almost explode on the spot. He is so angry, but it's just incompetent and furious. It's like a little mouse locked in a cage, no matter how hard it struggles and howls, it won't help. I'm going to kill you. In the rage, Bullseye almost lost his mind. He forcefully pulled out the bullet with his fingers from the bloodstains on his body. This kind of pain is beyond the reach of ordinary people. But now this crazy person actually did it. He looked at the bloody bullet in his palm, and extreme madness flashed in his eyes. What? Bullseye exhausted his whole life's strength, brought up the spirit of concentration more than before, and threw this bullet violently. This small bullet, in his hands, is even more powerful than a pistol. Not only the accuracy, but even the shooting speed should be improved a bit. To achieve this level, the basic strength needed is extremely large, but he can do it regardless of Bullseye's physique. It's almost like having a magical mystery. I have to say that Bullseye's throwing ability is really strong. However, in Shu Dan's eyes, it's still not enough. In the words of the game, it is more than enough operation, but not enough IQ. Clang. A sound of metal clanging sounded. Shu Dan is safe and sound. In his hand, a forged steel blade of modern technology appeared. The steel blade was 2 inches wide, and the bullet was blocked by the steel blade without any suspense. Due to the terrifying speed, the bullet collapsed into a pile of iron flowers, and bounced weakly to the ground. Bullseye stared blankly at the scene, his eyes widened. He felt that he was insulted again. Dodging bullets is fine, but you use a narrow blade that is less than half the width of a person's hand to block an imperceptible bullet head. What is this? His proud throwing ability is taunted again and again. Why are you mocking me like this? You might as well kill me in the first place. Shu Dan smiled slightly, his eyes wandered around the forged steel blade in his hand, as if admiring some treasure. As a Chinese, I have been influenced by martial arts, film and television novels since I was a child. The pursuit of all kinds of swords and famous knives has been buried in my bones since I was a child. However, looking at this steel blade made with modern technology today, it seems that it is no worse than those famous swords and knives. He slowly lowered the forged steel blade, and stabbed the iron flower formed by the bullet on the ground with the tip of the knife. He smiled and said, "Since you want to die, I'll give you a death sentence. Anyway, I'm not a bad person." As he said that, a huge force suddenly surged in his arm. The swordsmanship that is proficient in Super Nirvana endowed him with a different swordsmanship ability. Accuracy is one of them. He suddenly raised the forged steel blade, leaving a delicate sword mark on the ground, and that pile of iron flowers, under this sword, became a hidden weapon for murder. Whoosh! The iron flower turned into a bullet, hit a pattern on Bullseye's forehead with unbelievable precision. It was a bullseye-like engraving, and Bullseye's name had a lot to do with it. He hit the bullseye. Shu Dan said contemptuously. This is definitely the most sarcastic speech Bullseye has ever heard before he died. If there are ghosts in this world, then Bullseye will definitely turn into a resentful ghost after death. He imagined countless scenarios of shooting and killing Shu Dan in his mind, but all of them came to nothing. In the end, just when he had made up his mind to die, Shu Dan would actually do him back in the same way. Moreover, he also said the sentence that he was once proud of. Now this sentence sounds so ironic. His name is Bullseye, so he dared to say such a thing. But that guy is just the boss of a game company. A stinky businessman who makes games. Why does he have such an ability? He will not rest in peace. Shu Dan left the alley without a sound before Bullseye fell to the ground. Except for the sword marks on the ground, no one knew he had been here. When he left, the pursuing police arrived late. Hurry up. Hey, this guy is dead. That's for sure. I saw him take 3 or 4 bullets with my own eyes. Hey, his forehead, this. The police were stunned. Although they had confirmed that Bullseye could not run far, he would even die from excessive blood loss. However, he never expected that he would die in front of everyone like this. This makes them feel lost. It's like chasing a girl, who took in countless gold and silver treasures, and finally agreed to open the room after the car owed more millstones. In the end, when they were taking a bath, the girl was raped by someone else. The sheriff squeezed in from behind, looked at the dead Bullseye on the ground, and quickly asked, "Who shot the target?" No one answered. The sheriff frowned. Judging from the blood hole on Bullseye's forehead, it wasn't the caliber of their pistols at all. This is so thick. They are so thin. He looked up at the other end of the alley, and there was no one there. That's it. You two stay here and wait for the logistics, and the others continue to follow me. The sheriff put away his pistol and ordered on the spot. Continue to act. Everyone was puzzled for a while. The criminal on the blackboard is already dead, why should he act? So many brothers have died, at this time we should go back and pray for them to see them off. The sheriff seemed to have seen through the minds of the police officers, and he had no choice but to mobilize all of them. We are now going to end the source of crime in New York City, Jin Bing. This is a noble and just battle. If anyone quits, go back now, take off your police uniform, and I will find you a decent job afterwards. Jin Bing. Hearing the word Jin Bing, everyone was stunned. They never thought that one day they would be involved in such a major task. They are just ordinary police officers. If they want to wipe out the huge gangster forces and arrest the underworld Emperor Duracell, they should apply to the higher authorities and dispatch special forces. 3 or 2 of them are small shrimps, can they handle Jin Bing? However, just when they started to retreat from the bottom of their hearts, the police chief asked again, is anyone quitting? If so, hurry up and get out now, don't delay me making meritorious deeds and making a fortune. No. This is an answer that has been subconsciously practiced during the training in the police academy. Simply put, it is the body's answer without thinking. They didn't realize it until the words came out. In fact, they were a little scared. However, since the answer has already been answered, the sheriff can't control so much. Very good, follow me. Seeing the sheriffs full of enthusiasm, the police officers could only follow Shi Zheng bravely. At the same time, in the bottom of my heart, I was thinking about how to write this suicide note. The family members of the martyrs will receive a pension, whether it will be given to their mother or their wife. Forget it, anyway, if you give it to your wife, she will use the money to support a little boy, so let's give it to my mother as a reward for my son. They quickly caught up with the sheriff, feeling uneasy. Okay, you pick a few intact police cars and follow me quickly, don't let Jin run away. Yes, sir. At this moment, they suddenly respected the sheriff. Because they suddenly understood that the sheriff was so desperate that he didn't even have time to write a suicide note, and he wanted to get rid of that source of crime for New York. His usual hilarity is all pretending, but in fact he is quite righteous in his heart. Typical Tsunere. Regardless of whether this time is successful or not, if they can survive, they decided to pursue this sheriff. Woo, woo. The unnerving blare of sirens continued to move through the Clinton area as the police cars pulled into motion. The sheriff silently took out his mobile phone, which showed a call from one of his interrogators. Hello, sir. Well, let's talk. Those people who were arrested have already confessed, it is indeed him. I will report to the director now. The sheriff frowned and said, no, you report to that old man in half an hour. Why? Because I don't trust him. Faith G Enterprises downstairs. After Shu Dan killed Bullseye, he drove here directly. After passing the bodyguard's level easily, he went directly in the direction of Jin Bing. Everything happened so fast that their informant didn't even have time to report. As soon as Bullseye fell down, he drove quickly to the downstairs of Faith's Enterprise. When Shu Dan appeared indoors like a ghost, Jin Bing was still playing games. Playing exactly, Warcraft, step. Jin Bing raised his head vigilantly. During these years of being in the underworld, he encountered 800 assassinations if not 1,000. Those who can appear to him silently must be top killers. Fortunately, he himself is not afraid of assassination, because he himself is the strongest one in this building. However, when he moved his eyes away from the computer screen, his pupils narrowed slowly, and the moment he saw his face clearly, he was stunned on the spot. Isn't this the man he's thinking about day and night? After sending so many trash, they couldn't tie them back, and now he delivered them to his door by himself. Oh, isn't this the young and promising boss of the Antarctic Game Company? It's a pleasure to meet you. To be honest, I have long wanted to meet you, a genius. No, I'm playing your game. Although the words were so polite, Jin Bing held the scepter beside the table calmly. That was his secret weapon tailored for himself. If anyone thinks it's just an old man's crutches, he's dying. Hearing this, Shu Dan smiled with relief. My own game can even fascinate this kind of murderous gang leader, so why worry about the game not being able to bloom both style and style? Then I would like to thank Mr. Faith for his support to our company. Shu Dan said with a smile. You can't say that. Jin Bing stood up, took off the silver oversized coat, and put it on the back of the chair. The chimpanzee-like body was completely set off by the shirt. I am an out-and-out free player, without recharging a penny for your game. Hearing this, Shu Dan pouted. Actually, if you recharge up to 999, you will get a special reward. Mr. Faith is so rich, why don't you invest a little bit of it? Jin Bing moved his body bones, and those lumps of muscle showed shocking strength. To be honest, although he knew that Jin Bing was tall in his impression, when he saw it with his own eyes, his knowledge was washed away. I don't know how this race can grow to such a degree. Did they grow up eating bulls? Or got some kind of disease like Titan syndrome? Doubts only remained on the surface, and he did not dare to underestimate Jin Bing's combat effectiveness. Being punched by such a physique, I am afraid that no one will feel uncomfortable. There will be a special reward for recharging up to 999. What reward? Jin Bing grinned. After recharging to 999, you will get a title like Underworld Overlord, Dara King. Isn't it cool? Shu Dan shrugged and said playfully. Hearing this, Jin Bing's face suddenly sank. His public identity is the billionaire of Faith K Enterprise. Few people know his identity behind the scenes, because that is an identity full of various criminal titles. A person who knows this identity is either dead or surrendered. But now the game developer suddenly ran over and revealed the secret. Naturally, the Comer is not good. Besides, he sent people to target Shu Dan several times. How could the other party have good intentions? So, you want revenge. It's good for young people to have a temper. As soon as the words fell, Jin Bing clenched the scepter in his hand, and rushed towards Shu Dan like a hill. Just this kind of aura, no one can stand up to it in the underworld fight. However, Shu Dan is not one of those boring gangsters. He took the time to find Jin Bing today, and he was prepared. The forged steel blade hidden on the leg as a gift for Jin Bing. Base. Knife out. Looking at the scepter that had been smashed head-on, Shu Dan did not choose to fight, but turned around quickly, and the steel blade swept across. Laugh. The incomparably sharp forged steel blade left a 20-centimeter-long bloodstain on Jin Bing's tall body. On ordinary people, a wound of 20 centimeters would have to be rushed to the hospital for stitches. But on Jin Bing's tall body, it seems so insignificant. Hiss. The huge size also means that Jin Bing's speed is relatively slow. After he reacted, he looked down at the bloodstains on his body. It hurt a little, but it didn't matter. When he was young, he suffered more terrible and painful injuries than this one. I'm afraid that few people in this world know that the boss of the Antarctic game company, which is booming, is still a good killer. A killer? No, I'm not a killer, I just learned a little bit of self-protection. Haha, I really can't bear the way you pretend to be in front of me. With a loud roar, Jin Bing held the scepter and attacked Shu Dan again. In the first confrontation, he was considered a loser. But after all, he has been training uninterruptedly for decades, and his close combat ability is by no means as clumsy as it appears on the surface. Strength is inevitable, but skills are also not lacking. Shu Dan carefully guarded against Jin Bing's attack. He used a forged steel blade, while Jin Bing used a thick scepter. One is smashed with brute force, and the other is cut by cutting. According to the most intuitive judgment, he is not suitable for Shi Zhengong. Therefore, his figure once again evaded Jin Bing's attack like a breeze. This time, Jin Bing was clearly prepared, and the whole attack was very meticulous. While evading, Shu Dan couldn't find any openings and couldn't launch a counterattack. His toes tapped lightly on the ground, and like a flying swallow, he took a few steps back lightly and landed on Jin Bing's desk. When he opened his eyes again, the pupils were as bright as the stars. That's not starlight, it's the sharpness of the blade. In his eyes, there seemed to be countless sharp swords. The sword intent was like a nascent storm, accumulating around him. Jin Bing was shocked when he saw this scene. The scepter in his hand didn't dare to stay for another half second, and threw it at Shu Dan with all his strength. At the same time screaming, "You turned out to be a mutant." However, Shu Dan didn't answer him. The whole world seemed to slow down. The forged steel blade in his hand seemed to be lingering with a faint light. Jin Bing's movements were infinitely slowed down in his eyes, and the mountain-like oppression was cut away layer by the sword intent. Until all the defenses on Jin Bing's body were completely destroyed by the sword intent. From Shu Dan's heart, he slowly read a word, kill 16 Yehua alive. This is super nirvana. In reality, people don't have any blood bars. If there are many wounds on the body, their physical fitness will naturally decline. If they are hit to the point, their lives will naturally end. At that moment, in Jin Bing's office, the light of swords overflowed. The powerful sword intent turned into thousands of invisible blades, which continued to enlarge in Jin Bing's pupils. Fear, like a beast, hits his heart. Gradually, the sword light in Jin Bing's pupils began to scatter, and with it was Jin Bing's spirit. Hush, Shu Dan leaned on the forged steel blade with one hand, and took a few breaths. It was the first time to release this super nirvana on a human being, and for him, it was a physical and mental test. Luckily, he passed the test. Jin Bing never thought until his death that his underworld empire would be dismantled by a stranger in just 2 days. During his years of dominating the underworld, he has offended countless forces and committed all kinds of crimes, including burning, killing, and looting. But in the end, he was the one who won. In this world, no one dares to offend Jin Bing, otherwise their families will be ruined. But he never expected that it was just a small debt collection operation, and his people were solved by Shu Dan. In order to retaliate, and at the same time greedy for Shu Dan's future assets, he sent someone to take action against Shu Dan. In just 2 days, he experienced the most shameful losing streak ever. In just 2 days, just because he made a move on Shu Dan, the reward he received was fatal. If we had endured that incident silently back then, maybe everyone could go their own way and be happy separately. Moreover, he only found out the few interesting things in his life in the past 2 days. He has not played the game of Warcraft to the end. There are thousands of mistakes, and the mistake is not to be an enemy of Shu Dan. But wake up now, it's too late. His life, in the bloodstains on his body, flowed rapidly along with the blood. The field of vision is getting darker and darker, the body is getting colder and colder, until he falls asleep forever. Shu Dan sheathed the forged steel blade, and walked out of Jin Bing's office as if nothing had happened. The sound of the siren downstairs has already been heard far away. The police are coming soon. Leave the rest of the funeral to them. He didn't want to be pestered by those policemen asking questions. Quickly went downstairs, started the car, went around a curve, and drove in the direction of Antarctic Game Company as usual. He still has to work. Killing Jin Bing was just forced to do it. If he didn't harass him one after another, Shu Dan wouldn't bother him. Let him be the overlord of the underworld, whether he commits a crime or not. Shu Dan is not a just policeman, so he can't care about irrelevant things. He just wants to earn points. After Shu Dan's car disappeared into the morning rush hour, the police car showed up at the Faith Corporate building. The sheriff got out of the car in a hurry, and the first thing he did was pull out his pistol and load it. Crack. Behind them, those police officers were as vigilant as the sheriff. Let's go. The policemen cheered up, armed with guns one by one, and attacked the Faith Company. Faith Grams, representing the underworld overlord Jin Bing and big entrepreneurs. But Faith does not represent the underworld. The bodyguards here dare not fight against the regular police before receiving orders. Otherwise, the next thing to greet them is not the police, but guns. The police in the United States are notorious for their violent law enforcement. Regardless of whether you have the intention to kill, as long as you have the intention to attack the police, you can directly serve with bullets. Soon, the sound of the police coming came to Jin Bing's office. Everyone was waiting for Jin Bing's order. However, the voice had been heard in the office for a long time, but there was no response for a long time. Could Duracell fall asleep too? Everyone line up, don't relax your vigilance. The first and second teams follow me, and the others block off the surrounding area immediately. The sheriff ordered decisively. At this moment, orders play a very critical role. The police officers, who were still apprehensive at first, but were terrified by the strange atmosphere of obedience, found their backbone in an instant, and immediately acted according to the standard. The blockade of the blockade. Prohibition, prohibition. It's time to rush up. The first and second teams, including the sheriff, consisted of 13 people. They chose to climb the stairs instead of taking the elevator out of caution. They are more cautious when they have not climbed to the first floor. The great psychological pressure made them sweat profusely. Just as they climbed to the 20th floor, a voice suddenly came from the sheriff's radio. "What are you doing? Faith K is a famous entrepreneur in New York. You sent people to surround the building. What the hell are you trying to do, you? I tell you, you are now fired. You have authority if you continue. If you break into a private company without authorization, I will send someone to arrest you." Quote. Everyone stopped involuntarily. Because they were all familiar with this voice, it was the voice of the real boss in their bureau, the old bureau chief. Even though it's only a few days before retirement, majesty and power are still there. What he said could really be serious. "What to do, sir?" The sheriff did not answer, but silently took off the radio on his chest, then threw it on the ground, and stepped on it into pieces. Then he said, "Keep going." "Yes, sir. If you have done this step, you will be punished if you step back. But rushing up is different. If they can catch the source of the crime, the famous Duracell, they will be heroes. Not only a hero of Clinton, but also a hero of New York, and even the hero of the United States. What will the newspaper say? It will be said that a special team, regardless of life and death, eradicated the evil underworld overlord Jin Bing. People all over the United States will remember their names. What an honor is that! In addition, catching super criminals like Jin Bing will be enough credit for a lifetime. A promotion and a salary increase are a certainty, and it is not impossible to change your wife afterwards. Finally, everyone came to Jin Bing's office in mixed emotions of excitement and anxiety. A vanguard from the first team immediately stepped forward and opened the gate. The moment the door opened, everyone's muscles tensed up. The gangsters are all lunatics. They know that the police are surrounding them, and they will definitely resist with all their strength. Wait, why isn't there even a bodyguard here? Weird. Among the weirdness, there is also a strong smell of blood. What's going on inside? Everyone didn't care too much, and rushed in quickly. What's going on? The police officers looked at Jin Bin lying on the ground. The stinky blood flowed from the fat pig, forming a large pool of blood on the ground. Countless sharp knife wounds left a dense web on his body through his clothes. Who can do such an assassination? Sheriff, could it be that someone cut up his body first and then put on clothes at the end? The police chief looked back at Chen Dushou's speech in surprise, frowned and said, "Are you a pervert? Think about the picture of this fruit man." Oh. The sheriff stood up slowly, took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and walked out of the office silently. He took out his mobile phone, hesitated for a long time, and decided to make a call. Beep. Hello, Mr. Shudan. Well, hello, what does the sheriff want me to do? The sheriff smiled stiffly. Well, did you do that, Jin? What happened to Jin Bin? Did something happen? I'm still working in the company. If I need help, I'll send my assistant there. Shudan didn't admit it at all, pretending that there was no flaw. Now, he's hacking into Faith's corporate security system and deleting all footage. Definitely, whether to delete or not, someone knows that he did it. But as long as everyone is clear about this matter, it's fine. You can't say it. The sheriff showed a slight smile, and he immediately relaxed. Haha, then Mr. Shudan doesn't have that kind of luck anymore. That dead pig like Jin Bing has been dissected now. Think about the sins he committed. This is a great revenge. Oh, that's such a pity. I feel sorry for you too. Well, let's not talk about it. After I deal with this matter, I will treat you to dinner. That's not necessary. As long as the police chief upholds more justice, especially the justice of Angie Game Company, then I will be grateful. Many people are going to kidnap me these days. Sure, okay, bye. After the conversation between the two, they both got what they wanted and were satisfied. The next step is to take the money and collect the corpse, and confiscate the Faith K enterprise that buried a lot of illegal goods under its ass. He couldn't even imagine what kind of reward he would get for such a contribution. I'm afraid it will be publicly commended in front of the whole people, and the federal councilors will personally present some important medals. That is a glorious thing. As for that shitty old bureau chief, he doesn't even bother to talk about it now. Even if he sent people up to catch them, it would be futile. Jin Bing has already been arrested. Although it is a pity that he was not caught alive and cannot reveal more black material, this is enough for them. If you are greedy, you can't eat more. After dealing with Jin Bing, Shudan can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Otherwise, kidnapping and assassination every 3 days, who can stand it? Now, he can finally start refining his game. In just 2 days, Warcraft created a new global record, breaking 250 million online at the same time. What a huge amount of data this is. It also declares the success of Warcraft. The original company's server can no longer handle the swarm of so many players, it is almost overwhelmed. As a last resort, he could only send Leva to buy a new server. In this year, the server technology is not as developed as in the previous life. Not only is it bulky, but the workload is far inferior. The servers on the market look like this. He had no choice but to go through the channels and found the majestic chief Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. The technology used by the government is always higher than the high level used by the civilians. There is nothing wrong with finding someone. But Nick Fury's old silver coin presented a problem. They, S.H.I.E.L.D., refused to sell it, saying that it was strictly controlled. Strictly speaking, with Nick Fury's means, how could it be impossible to get a few servers? However, because of Shudan's face, he thought about continuing to cooperate in the future, and recommended him an even better supplier, Tony Stark. Who is Tony Stark? A famous playboy, but also a genius inventor. The military industry is one aspect, but he is not weak at all in terms of electronic technology. It is said that when he was a teenager, he invented a robot. Think about what he was doing when he was a teenager. Recite and silently write the full text. Closer to home, the average person would not be able to date Tony Stark, that prodigal son. Fortunately, with Nick Fury on the bridge, Shudan drove directly to the most luxurious building in New York City, the Stark Industrial Building. When he came here, it was actually Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, Happy Hogan, who came to receive him. Hi, Mr. Shudan, welcome to the Stark Industrial Building. Mr. Stark is already waiting there. Seeing the smiling face of the bodyguard, Shudan also nodded politely. In Iron Man, he admired this bodyguard more. He was as careful as an old butler in doing things. And very loyal. Even the cannons offered by Tony Stark are checked clean. Follow Happy all the way, take the special elevator, and soon see Tony Stark, who is barking his teeth and claws in front of the computer from a distance. Ben Sans person, playing a game is still like this. Happy coughed helplessly, then deliberately knocked on the door. Benedict, Benedict, Benedict. Whoa, look who's here. Tony Stark finally came to his senses, quickly threw the game aside, and enthusiastically went towards Shudan. Shudan, first time meeting, I'm Tony Stark. You should have heard me. Shudan looked at this person calmly. It was the first time he met the famous Tony Stark, but he was not so excited. After staying in this world for a long time, my mentality is normal. But he found that Tony Stark looked at him very strangely. That look was as eager as a primary school student seeing a horse painting Vine uncle. It's over. This man is crazy. Admiration for a long time. Shudan said. Whoa, whoa, I still want to sigh. Whoa, Mr. Stark, let's talk business. Just call me Tony. Okay, Tony, let's get down to business. Don't worry, you don't know, I'm actually your fan. Since your first game, I've been a fan of you. Really? Tony made a please gesture and said as he walked. Shudan shrugged and didn't think the billionaire would be anyone's fan. In the eyes of the capitalists, everything is just so-so. In their eyes, entertainment superstars are actors, and gang bosses are pawns they can use. How could he be a fan of a small game developer? Tony Stark led Shudan to their warehouse of Stark Industry. Among the many underground warehouses, 80% are banned arms, because he no longer sells these harmful things to outsiders. And Tony, still be bling non-stop. Do you know, I like your Mai Shiranui in The King of Fighters the most. That figure is really nothing to say, and I even sent Happy to find the most restored Coaster in the United States, but unfortunately this guy has no more posts. Quote. By the way, did you write the character design about Mai Shiranui? It's really amazing. Quote. Hey, can you secretly tell me if there are any winning secrets or Easter eggs on the map in Warcraft? I promise not to tell anyone else. Quote. During Shudan's almost collapsed conversation, Tony Stark finally passed the certification and opened the door of a warehouse. The interior of the warehouse is very open, and countless electronic devices are neatly placed inside. While listening to Tony's professional introduction, Shudan himself was also looking at these servers. Indeed, it is much better than the products on the market in his company, and its performance is at least 5 times higher. What about the price? I don't want to talk to you about the price. Huh, what? Shudan was taken aback for a moment. What is this guy doing? Tony smiled mysteriously and explained. I said that I am your fan, and I really hope that you can produce excellent works, so the first 10 free orders are my support for you. If you still need, if you want, I will give you a 20% discount. Definitely, there are only 10 units that can be shipped here. If you want a large order, I will speed up the production. Shudan was slightly surprised in his heart. Could it be that the famous Tony Stark has really become his game fan? This is too incredible. 8 games to conquer the world just around the corner. Shudan doesn't intend to refuse. It's not that he likes to take advantage, but the international situation is different. In China it can be pushed back and forth, but here, just accept it. If you don't accept it, people will feel that you don't respect him. Thank you. When my next work comes out, I will give you the right to experience it in advance. When Tony heard this, he immediately beamed with joy. The next work. Wow, a masterpiece like Warcraft has just been born, and you plan to make another one. My God. Shudan shook his head. That's right, it's just an idea, not even a name. No matter what, I'm looking forward to it. My company's delivery personnel will deliver these devices to you by themselves. Would you like to go up for a drink with me? Tony invited. Tony was an alcoholic, but either he was an alcoholic or he loved it. But Shudan doesn't like drinking at all, because 3 glasses of wine in the world of mortals, a pot of tea for a great career. He still needs to purchase equipment now. A truly powerful company needs to produce the world's top equipment by itself. Antarctic Game Company seems to be very profitable now, but it is not enough to add related departments. This is very realistic. No, after I go back, I have to rush to write the next version of Warcraft. I'm not as leisurely as you. Well, actually, I'm not very busy, you know, I actually have a lot of work to do, eh? Tony said without admitting defeat. It would be embarrassing to be treated as an idler. Afternoon. A row of vans bearing the Stark Industry trademark drove under the Antarctic Game Company. Shudan immediately issued an online maintenance announcement for Warcraft. The online battle is temporarily closed, and players can also play standalone games. When this batch of high-quality servers goes online, it can solve the problem of occasional lag in online gameplay. In the previous life, everyone fought on the platform, but now Shudan puts this way of playing directly in his game bag. It is so convenient. To be honest, all his games have been optimized to the best level by the optimization package. Even if players use junk computers, they can still drive the extreme picture quality and make it very smooth. Instead, it was because the players were so enthusiastic that they overwhelmed their own server. Players who have played League of Legends know how painful it is for the server to freeze. As a conscious game developer, it is necessary for him to avoid this kind of incident. This move has naturally won the praise of the players, and at the same time, a lot of fresh blood has been injected, and the game time has naturally increased. Shudan opened the System Points Mall, looked into the corner, and saw a series of 8-digit numbers jumping on the points balance. 36 million. This is all earned in the past few days. Before, in order to buy an optimization package for Warcraft, he directly spent 30 million points, and those 30 million points were accumulated for a long time in The King of Fighters. Now, with the 2 games together, in just a few days, they have earned more than 30 million points. It was a blast. Earn points faster, definitely is Warcraft. As before, related products have also been updated in the System Points Mall. Shudan looked at the Points Mall interface, and there were so many skills and props about the Warcraft series. Blizzard 100,000 points. Water Element 100,000 points. Windwalk 100,000 points. Hyperopia 100,000 points. ... Made. This is a money grab. How many times more expensive than the skills of The King of Fighters? Small skills are worth 1 million points. And this useless skill is farsightedness. Is myopia a skill? No wonder Shu Dan complained. The price of a small skill in The King of Fighters was only a few thousand, but now when it comes to Warcraft, it has soared to a minimum of 100,000. This price has traveled directly from the founding era to the current capital. Who can stand this? He now has 36 million points, but he must leave 30 million points to exchange for the special effect optimization package for the new game. In other words, he can only use 6 million points at present. And at the current price, you can't afford something too awesome. System, you come out to me, the explanation is not clear, see if I uninstall you. Back to the host, the power level of the world is different, and the commodity price is different. What does the big snake say? It's still the will of the earth. Back to the host, the quality level of the world is different. Shu Dan. He continued to look down. Group transmission, 1 million points. God descends to earth, 1 million points. Death and decay, 1 million points. Blade storm, 1 million points. ... It seems that small skills, no matter whether they are strong or weak, are equivalent to 100,000 points, while ultimate skills, no matter what, are fixed at 1 million points. Shu Dan exclaimed. Every skill has its own value and significance. It is not to say that which skill has high damage and can steal the head, which skill should be regarded as the ultimate skill. The designer designed a certain skill as the hero's ultimate skill for a purpose. His gaze was still wandering in the points mall, and finally, he locked on Blade Storm. Blade Storm is the skill of Warcraft Juggernaut. A well-known internet writer once wrote a novel with the role of Warcraft Sword Master, and became the Rookie King with a shock. Now it's interesting, this skill is presented in front of him. Moreover, the price is just within his affordability. Buy, Shu Dan said decisively. The skill of Blade Storm, for a man, is the ultimate romance. Supreme joy. Beep. With an electronic sound, it can be regarded as buying this skill. The power of skills, together with the introduction information, poured into Shu Dan's body. Blade Storm. When Blade Storm is released, the user gains magical immunity, which causes some damage to all units within the range every second. And can be used against low health buildings. Blade Fury can still attack magic immune units. Blade Storm can be used together with Minor Potion of Invulnerability and Major Potion of Invulnerability. Shu Dan closed his eyes and digested the information in his mind. Blade Storm is a continuous skill. The reality is different from the game. In reality, every second it lasts will consume a certain amount of physical strength. If the physical strength can last, then it's no problem if it lasts for 10 or 20 seconds. But with his current body, ashamed to say, it can only last for 7 seconds. This is still a body that has undergone a strengthening package. It can only last for 7 seconds. I am afraid that the body of an ordinary person will be drained and go into shock in less than a second. The damage value of Blade Storm also mainly depends on the sharpness of the weapon. For example, if you want to use a chopping knife and want to kill a green titan, you must be out of your mind. Buildings with low HP are also easy to understand, they are nothing more than destroying dilapidated buildings. This additional attribute seems to be useless in modern times. As for the small invincibility potion and the large invincibility potion, they are in the category of consumables. The small invincibility potion lasts for 7 seconds, and the large invincibility potion lasts for 15 seconds. He curiously found the item bar, consumables category, and quickly found the small invincible potion. Even if it is invincible for 7 seconds, it is still a fairy item. Even the gravity of Jupiter can't attract the user. However, Shu Dan's face darkened when he saw the price. Little invincible potion. 700,000, 00 points. Invincible potion. 1,500,000, 00 points. Holy potion. 2,500,000, 00 points. Yeah, that's 10 million points for 1 second of invincibility. Is the price worth it? Very cost-effective for the rich, and dispensable for the poor. Fortunately, now Shu Dan has shaken off poverty and is on his way to being rich. One day, I will always drink the invincible potion as if it were nothing. After buying the Blade Storm skill, what he has left now is only 5 million points. It's not enough to buy many big skills, let alone those expensive props. Definitely, Only awesome props or sky-high prices. Ordinary props are also considered cheap, but now Shudan doesn't need those ordinary props. So, he set his sights on the world character interface. There are also many beautiful ladies in Warcraft, each of which is full of alien charm, which is different from the people on Earth. Long-eared elf Dame EMMMMM. Farewell. Looking at the female elf hero in the character column, the number of digits has broken through the sky. The system may be afraid that he will not fit in one grid, and even wants to open a second row. Who can afford this price? Shudan didn't dare to count the number of digits, for fear of being scared to death. Is the world of Warcraft hanging like this? The value attached to the world is simply driving up the approval price, oh no, driving up the price of people. Helpless, he had no choice but to return to the character column of the King of Fighters. Mai Shiranui 2 million points. Kula 2.5 million points. Kagura Chizuru 4 million points. I used to think that the price of the female characters in The King of Fighters was raised, and I thought it was astronomical. Now compared with World of Warcraft, I just feel that this price is a 12-point conscience. Only 2 million. Only 2 million. What a conscience price. Then buy my Shiranui first. When I was young, I played King of Fighters for the first time. Seeing the mosaic quality, Shudan already regarded this Yuji as a YY object. Later, 7 or 8 years later, the culture has improved, there are more and more cosplayers, and there are more and more painters on the internet. When he saw that beautified version of Mai Shiranui for the first time, he felt that it was very much like youthful and ignorant love. And now, he gave the optimized King of Fighters to the Earth teenagers in the Marvel Universe. Thinking about it from another angle, this is really a great pay. A great contribution. Unprecedented contribution. No wonder those players love and support Antarctic Game Company so much, just like they love their old father. It's like, in 2000, The King of Fighters, with 4K picture quality was released, and the painting style is close to aesthetic, the characters in it are not broken at all, and the faces of beautiful women are extremely beautiful. Similarly, in a few years, the immersive Warcraft was released. This is an excellent experience that has spanned time and brought players around the world. Confirm purchase. Mai Shiranui. Looking at the system prompt, Shudan said with some expectation, confirm. Beep. The rays of light began to converge in front of Shudan, and the reality converged into a white ray of light, just like the mythical Nua making clay figurines, first making a model and then giving life to it. The radiant body began to dim, and like a broken cocoon, it faded away little by little. It appeared in Shudan's line of sight. Definitely, in sight, there is only pure desire and no love. He is a person who rarely reveals his true feelings, even if Liwa has been with him for so long, he has never made any promises. Not to mention a mere virtual character. At this moment, the system suddenly popped up a window. Beep. Mai Shiranui has been reborn. What the hell? Why didn't you get this reminder when you bought Gonnets last time? Returning to the host, the reason why the price of female characters is higher than that of male characters is because after purchasing, the host gets a brand new character. Shudan definitely understands the meaning of this word, brand new, which means that Mai Shiranui has not been touched by anyone yet. It seems that the system is also very considerate, knowing that he has a mental cleanliness. Chapter 51. As Warcraft spread around the world. In just 50 days, the total assets of Antarctic Game Company doubled. This is a very exciting thing. Now he can pat his chest and boldly say that he can crush his peers in every aspect. In the past, the most famous company in the United States was the Wind and Snow Company. How to say this company, although they are a game company in the United States, they are backed by a huge French multinational media group. That is an ancient group dominating the world, rooted no deeper than Stark Industries. However, now this is a world that relies on strength to speak. It doesn't matter what feng shui company is behind, the important thing is that they have no works that can be sold now. It seems that from the moment The King of Fighters came out, any inspiration or new gameplay is no longer important. After being baptized by that kind of image quality, players all over the world have become more demanding. Once the sea was too difficult for the water. After playing King of Fighters and Warcraft looked back at their games, it was like a mosaic game played by elementary school students on red and white computers. Humans or visual animals. What's more, these two games, no matter which one, the gameplay is still very powerful. It's perfect. In addition to lamenting these two masterpieces, on the official forum of Antarctic Company, a large number of game fans are expressing their expectation for the next work. QQ223FDS, Antarctic Dad, for me, there are only two games in the world that are really worth playing for adults, and that is King of Fighters and Warcraft. Looking forward to the next work. OMGzing. Oh, thank God, I can finally speak. I used to be a game developer, and I always thought that the games I made were very interesting, until I met the King of Fighters. From the first second of getting started, my life it has been sublimated. I know I will never be able to make this kind of game myself, but I can play it to my heart's content, and now I am a professional King of Fighters player. See you at the World Championships. Heavens Ed. Because my family is relatively open, I have been exposed to many games since I was a child, but I have never seen a game like Warcraft before. How should I put it? This game is a collection of me. All the interesting gameplays are tailor-made for me. You can play strategies, show off operations, and compare your brain. Even the stories behind each character can be written into a novel. Empire no chariot. The upstairs is all babysitters. Is the curry man dead? It is better than the brain, cerebral palsy. You can speak crookedly. Browsing through the messages on the forum, Shudan couldn't stop smiling. Now that the state of Warcraft has stabilized, he has also deliberately simplified the gameplay to make it easier for players to get started. It is estimated that just relying on one game can make the company suffer for 5 or 6 years. One game, eat 5 or 6 years. It can be seen what kind of achievement this is. However, Shudan is not the kind of person who is easy to be satisfied. His heart is constantly expanding with the promotion of abilities status. So, he's already started writing the outline for his next game. On the title, a word, WoW, is displayed. That's right, that's World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft inherits the story of Warcraft, but the gameplay has changed. This will be a role-playing online game. From the game on the map to the open world, this will definitely create a new game record. Definitely, the production cost of World of Warcraft is too high, and it takes a long time. Although you can take the shortcut of the game's special effects optimization package, you must first build the model before you can optimize it. And just building the model of World of Warcraft is enough for them to be busy, especially the technicians who came to learn from Shield or completely inappropriate series. Making this game is really hard, not to mention the vast world, countless copies, and monsters. Just the setting framework of World of Warcraft, he writes it as a novel, and it takes several months to write 10,000 words a day. And many background stories are the index of many tasks. After writing these, he can start programming. In short, in terms of difficulty, this is not making a game, but opening up a world. Opening up the world also requires meticulous craftsmanship. Shudan has very strict requirements for his works. It took more than 3 months for all the copywriting scripts to be completed. Next, we can invest in formal game production. He first copied what he had written to Leva, Sky, and Mai Shiranui. If it wasn't for Gonitz who only read the Book of Sages, coming here would only be a disservice, and he wanted to get Gonitz to help. And Mai Shiranui is a ninja, and being good at learning is a prerequisite. She has been familiar with the situation for so long in the company, and now she can also manage a group of technicians. On the day when they received this mysterious gift, they all seemed absent-minded. Fortunately, the company's work has formed an operating mode, and their positions have more free time, otherwise something might go wrong. In the evening, when Shudan invited everyone to dinner as usual, Liwa still held the thick stack of A4 papers and looked at it with relish. If it was a hardcover book, maybe this scene is very beautiful, but now she is holding thick office paper. It looks like the boss is squeezing the employees. Shudan is not willing to take the blame for this. Suddenly, Liwa took a deep breath, slowly put down the document paper in her hand, closed her eyes and turned her face to the sky. Her reading speed is relatively fast, and she has already read it before the other two people read 2/3 of it. After a while, she finally said, "Wow, God. After reading this story, I feel that we should invest in making a movie." The sound disturbed Sky, who was reading the book, but she was not angry, but added, "That's right, I also suggest that the boss make a movie. This story, if we use our special effects, I can guarantee that the box office will be absolutely guaranteed." Not low. Mai Shiranui smiled slightly, but did not express any opinion. Seeing everyone's reaction, Shudan took a sip of tea calmly. To be honest, when writing these things, he was really under a lot of pressure, but after finishing writing, he felt a sense of accomplishment. We may do this in the future, but tomorrow, I want everyone to invest in the development of World of Warcraft. What I want is not a Warcraft extension game, but a story about Warcraft Big World. The release of World of Warcraft is destined to be a carnival event for game fans all over the world. Anyone who has seen the promotional CG knows that this will be a very open world. Before that, some game manufacturers tried to make such a game, but either there was a problem here, or there was a problem there, and the game was very easy to crash. Coupled with the lack of a good background story content support, the whole game seemed dry. Yes, it is very boring. It has not been released yet, and it was stillborn in the trial stage. On the first day when the World of Warcraft plan was established, game fans all over the world knew that there was no going back, that the once wild era could not go back, and they would go to the new world that Shudan opened for them. While playing Warcraft, they counted the countdown in their hearts, and finally waited for this day. Now all over the world, even people who don't play games know that the conscientious production of Angie Company, the game content is basically the same as the CG quality and even far exceeds it. Everyone is looking forward to such a world. The day before the issue date, Shudan stroked the stubble on his chin that had not been taken care of for several days, and silently browsed the System Points mall. He looked at the 50G game bag, and felt an inexplicable emotion for the first time. In the past, both The King of Fighters and Warcraft were very small in size. But now this game, this world, is surprisingly big. He also considered a lot when choosing the game special effects optimization package. The previous 2 times, he used the medium level, and now he plans to use the high level once. For a work of the level of World of Warcraft, in such a vast world, if you don't use high-level special effects optimization, it may really be a pity. When he played this game in his previous life, from an objective point of view, the appearance of those characters was really ugly. Definitely the United States game has always been like this, with its own character uglification function. This shortcoming needs to be fixed. A good game should be 100% free of dead ends. He looked at the System Points mall panel. Elementary level special effects optimization package 10 million points. Medium level special effects optimization package 30 million points. High level special effects optimization package 100 million points. Top special effects optimization package 500 million points. These days, Shudan is constantly exchanging points for skills, and he now has all the skills of Warcraft Juggernaut and many other useful skills. And now, his point balance is exactly 103 million left. Now, the King of Fighters has earned fewer and fewer points. Sure enough, arcade fighting can't last long. Even if it is an optimized work, there will always be a boring day after calling back and forth. These points are basically earned back by Warcraft, so it happens to use the points it earns to open up a world for itself to optimize. Purchase the high-level special effects optimization package. Purchased successfully. Following a prompt, the screen on Shudan's computer changed rapidly. The original rough products immediately became delicate. The earth has become like a real thing. Even the fine hairs are clearly visible. The orcs became more powerful. The vividness of the face is essential. The higher the level of optimization package, the more grand it is, the more attention is paid to the details. What needs to be optimized most is definitely the character movements of World of Warcraft. The original movements are really stiff. As a perfectionist, he is very satisfied with the effects of the high-level special effects optimization package. Shudan's eyes lit up, looking at the brand new World of Warcraft, subconsciously tapped twice on the keyboard with his fingers, directing a character to move and punch. So real. Just throwing a fist, the shaking of the muscles, the sensation of the fist rubbing in the air, it's all like the player has traveled to the other world. The current picture quality can no longer be described in 4K. If you have to say it, it is time to travel to the other world. The characters they see are real people. It almost goes against the computer screen and attracts players to the continent of Azeroth. Seeing such a perfect game, Shudan doesn't even want to put this game on the shelves, it's a work of art. Even his picky master thinks the optimized version of World of Warcraft is perfect, let alone those players outside. What's even more frightening is that, apart from the extremely realistic characters and buildings, the scenery of World of Warcraft is even more crazy. The endless prairie, an ancient forest formed by towering ancient trees hundreds of meters high and 10 meters thick. A pure lake like the tears of a goddess. And many scenes that can't be seen on the earth at all. Elf Forest, Dalaran, Emerald Dreamland, Stormwind City, and so on. With the improvement of the high-level special effects optimization package, the original rough and simple scenery has instantly evolved into a fantastic and magnificent dream scene. Just looking at it is pleasing to the eye. Playing games, enjoying the peerless beauty and the scenery of other worlds, may I ask, how can this game not be popular? On the streets of New York, some people say that this is the center of the world. There are often various elements of culture and advertisements flowing here on weekdays. But today, everything has changed. In the streets and alleys, countless game fans, either exquisitely or briefly dressed in cosplay, spontaneously carnival in the streets. They chanted Antarctic Game Company and Shudan's name. If you hadn't watched their faces up close, you might have thought that these people were parading. In fact, they were just shopping with netizens. With such a large flow of people flooding the streets, the United States police were forced to appear on the streets to maintain order. Oh, God, what are these people doing? Is it a holiday today? Why don't I know? A police officer complained to the colleague next to him. Dude, can you see that they are all a bunch of dead nerds? Definitely, if it weren't for this police uniform, I would be a dead nerd now. The police colleague said enthusiastically. 99% of the men in the world are interested in games. If not, it must be that the games are not good enough. And the product produced by Antarctic Company must be a masterpiece. The high-quality products are not ranked high. That is a company that specializes in masterpieces. Today's gamers love not only the game in their hands, but also the Antarctic Game Company that promises 1,000 liege out gold. This company never let players dove, and never false propaganda. The games produced, as many as they are awesome. Tap, tap, in the air, a helicopter passed over everyone's heads. That was the United States national television, and the reporter had already taken a helicopter to broadcast this spectacle in real time for the whole of the United States. We saw that today is not any festival, but people spontaneously organized and gathered towards a mysterious place. I can't think of a better word except worship. So what the hell is pulling these crazy people? Let's switch to the ground, soup. As soon as the picture changed, a reporter on the ground stopped a nurse and asked, "Hello, beautiful lady, excuse me, what are you all doing? Why are you doing this? What happened?" The stopped woman smiled, and immediately replied in an orderly manner, "Because today is the release day." In front of the whole world, the woman uttered the 3 words, "Release date." Release date, what kind of holiday is this again? Everyone in the United States who was waiting in front of the TV was taken aback. They grew up so big, they never knew there was such a festival in the United States. If there are real-time broadcasts, there will naturally be real-time discrediting jokers to gain attention. And the unscrupulous merchant, for the sake of ratings, even put the live video on the giant screen on the street. In the standard opening, there are 3 people sitting on the stage, 2 hosts and 1 guest. The big event that shocked the whole of the United States. Since 8 o'clock this morning, some young people spontaneously poured out from various places, all of them walked in one direction, forming a spectacular formation on the streets of the United States, the citywide crowd. Then please ask our sociology expert, Dr. Cardin, to analyze it for everyone. The so-called sociology expert, that is, the guest, had a haughty look on his face, and he didn't even have the courtesy to greet the audience, and said directly, "Actually, I understand that this kind of thing didn't just happen in the United States. In the whole world the same thing is happening all over the world, but due to the time difference, the time period is different." HMPH. After Zhuangjia finished speaking, he snorted triumphantly, as if knew a little more information, which made him more remarkable. The host's face remained unchanged, and he asked very cooperatively, "Then, Dr. Carden, why is this?" Hearing this, Brick pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose, tilted his mouth again, and smiled disdainfully, HMPH. "Actually, I feel sorry for the next generation of the world when I say this. Do you know why these young people have abandoned their old ways? Lazy, getting up so early for the first time. Because they are all moving towards a game company. Yes, it is a game company. What happened to the game company? Because today is the day when this game company releases a new game, and they are giving away 100,000 commemorative CDs at the same time, and these people are all there for that small CD. What? For a CD? Just mobilize people like this?" Hearing the question, Brick had a disdainful smile again on his face. "Humph. It all starts with that man. His name is Xu Dan, and he is an entrepreneur from China. He is the one who created the business. The modernized games take advantage of all kinds of hopelessness in people's hearts and make these people addicted. The people you see now are all CJEB, a group of people who are addicted to games. Look at their attires. Outrageous. Dr. Carden seems to have a prejudice against these people. HMPH. I'm not prejudiced against these people, they are also poor victims. I'm expressing my dissatisfaction with that man Xu Dan. In other words, does he know what he's doing? He's poisoning our next generation. If everyone is addicted to games, who will develop technology for us in the future, who will defend our homeland for us, and will anyone be a soldier? Maybe a lot of wars could be avoided if no one was a soldier," said the host of the United States Entertainment Television. Hearing this, the Brick family glared at the hostess angrily. Antarctic game building. Xu Dan watched the video fed back by Sky, which was broadcast on the giant screen on the street. Have to say, the United States people can be really boring sometimes. Their entertainment TV station is really like a joke, any monkey can perform on stage. Hee, jumping beam joker. He continued to watch the video, but what happened next made him slightly taken aback. Because those game fans in the personal tide unexpectedly experienced fluctuations and smashed the public screen to pieces. Especially the scene at Brick's house, it was smashed to the ground and disappeared. It's brutal. If this incident happened in Maoziguo, I am afraid that the Brick family would be rushed up by the players on the spot. However, looking at it, Xu Dan frowned. It's a good thing for his game fans to defend him, but wouldn't that just offend the police? On the streets of New York, whoever dares to make mistakes will be the target of the United States police arrest. If these game fans are arrested by the police because of this incident, it will be very embarrassing. He immediately paused the video, then picked up his phone and sent a text to a number. This number was left by the sheriff when Jin was arrested last time. Oh no, it should be called the chief now. After sending the text message, he went back to the video. The video continued. The giant screen on the street had been smashed by the players, but Sky was still connected to the TV station online and continued to play the scene in the live broadcast room. At the same time, beside the brick house, a series of brief introductions suddenly appeared. Xu Dan couldn't help being taken aback for a moment, and then realized this is Sky's handwriting. After reading the brief introduction, I finally understood this so-called Dr. Carden. He is not a person from the United States, to be precise, he is not a purebred person from the United States, and belongs to a joint venture between the United States and France. And the reliance behind him is that ancient group that dominates in France. It seems that Feng Shui Company can't do it, so the backer stepped forward. In fact, Feng Shui Company is a subsidiary of that ancient French group. The interests of the subsidiary have been severely damaged, and they are even facing losses or even bankruptcy. It is no wonder that their parent company is not in a hurry. So, you hired a rotten fish and rotten shrimp to smear me in the media. Xu Dan's eyes suddenly turned cold. At first, he thought it was just a spoof show made by some idle asshole from the United States. If it is a spoof, he is still quite a spoof, so don't worry about it. However, now that such a relationship is actually involved, he has to pay attention to it. In the business world, competitors can become allies if they get along well, and enemies if they get along badly. This is a war without bloodletting. At first, I didn't see any big problems. And as time goes by, when the opponent has a certain amount of fishing boat power, the attack on Antarctic Company will be very fatal. After all, it was a group that already existed in the 19th century, and its roots in the world cannot be measured. So, don't let them go on like this. Thinking of this, he immediately pressed the cornet of the landline on the desk. Called. Sky, come in. Soon, Sky hurried in. She's just waiting for Shudan to call her. Boss, what do you want to do? Whether this matter is big or small, it's just right for you to do it. After all, this is just a competition between business groups, and no supervillains are involved, so he doesn't need to do it himself. No matter what the media says, the enthusiasm of game fans represents everything. The 100,000 CDs prepared on the first day were looted at the speed of light. Players are very polite when they arrive at the Antarctic game building. This is a holy place. The crowd was not crowded at all, and circulated at the most orderly and fastest speed. Everyone who got the CD laughed happily. The disc contains nothing else but the disc version of World of Warcraft, plus some small games related to Warcraft. 100,000 copies are distributed for free, which is actually not a small number. But there are too many game fans in New York City. It can be seen from the crowds of people passing through the streets and alleys that they will do anything to make a pilgrimage. Distributing the CD version of World of Warcraft for free is not because of anything else, but because the official website of Antarctica has been overwhelmed again. Part of this kind of free activity is to inspire game fans, and part of it is to divert traffic from official website. The downloads all over the world must be carried out from this official website at the same time. Fortunately, there is hardware support from Stark Industries, so the official website will not crash directly. It is just a doctor. Shudan can't stand the machine freeze the most. Human beings in a daze are cute, and machines are stuck because there is a problem with the equipment. So, after he researched, a plan to make his own game platform appeared in his mind. The game platform is different from the official website. Just like Steam, it can accept many games, and at the same time can discuss, evaluate, upload, download, etc. The download speed is still the highest speed of broadband. If there is platform diversion, perhaps it will not cause such a parade of thousands of people. In the evening, on the other side of the earth, World of Warcraft was also put into operation. The agency is still the same pony as last time. Shudan has an ideal, that is to make World of Warcraft run synchronously around the world. In terms of game production, he also carried out related hidden design. However, it was the current technology that stopped him. With the current server, I'm afraid he will have to buy a football field server to drive the world's only server, World of Warcraft. This matter can only be implemented in the future. Anyway, World of Warcraft is live. This day is the day that opened a new era of gaming. Since the beginning of The King of Fighters, Antarctic Studio has reformed the game imaging technology, applied the extreme picture quality to the game, and even completely exploded the resolution of many TV dramas at that time. Afterwards, Warcraft rose again. Antarctic Studio was not bought by other consortiums, but set up its own company, and this company's debut work can be said to truly show players all over the world what is a game, what is fun, what is addictive to play. The word, addiction, appeared in the adult game circle for the first time. Those games before, I didn't even feel addicted. When Warcraft was in full swing, Nanji Company did not slack off, and did not just eat for a year, but created the grand World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft. Because of the game optimization package, WoW is a game with 50G in the first version produced by Antarctica, and it did not freeze the players' computers to smoke. Under the introduction of the official website, World of Warcraft, there is this minimum configuration requirement, which is frighteningly low. Those data shocked even Shudan, the developer, that the game he wrote can still run on the old machine. In his opinion, the machine with the lowest configuration is undoubtedly a big machine. God, this high-level special effects optimization package also has such effects. Countless players were skeptical about this at first. After all, it is a 50G thing. In this era, the internet speed of the whole people generally stays at 4M broadband. Even if it is downloaded at full speed, 500 or 600 kilobit per second is enough to download for several days. Countless players couldn't believe that such a single game that occupies the entire hard drive can be played by their own computer. And what is the most important thing? Smooth. The Antarctic Game Company has always been an indicator. Fighter in black technology. Now that you can open it, let's go in and have a look. Moon. Light. What is this? This is the first impression of countless players when they open the game. This is not a computer screen, this is not a game, but a window to the otherworld. So real. Is this still a game? The technology geeks are thinking, what kind of black technology company is Angie Game Company, and why can they produce such games? With these technologies alone, Antarctic Game Company can become independent. The company's technical department is playing the whole world. Shish, what sound? Xiaoming asked in surprise, could it be that the computer is about to explode? Which Sabi, can you turn off Liberty Mai? Let the whole of China scold you. Sorry. Hearing the sound, Xiaoming breathed out, and at the same time tried the game. It was still running normally. Touched the host, it was not hot at all. Suddenly, the voice sounded again. Haha, Xu Shen is really a heavenly man. Hua Sha, will beat up the scumbags of the United States. Isn't that? You just say that the United States and the island country are developing some rubbish games. They are only suitable for playing on Xiaoboang. Xu Shen's game is the conscience, and it is the game that really considers the players. Quote, hey, buddy, you don't need to black and white, right? Stupid dog, what do you know? Others can't do it, but they can blackmail others and praise me. Xu Shen is Thomas. This is a privilege. Xu Shen is awesome. Xu Shen wins glory for the country. Xiaoming's eyes gradually shifted from the game scenery to the system interface, and soon, he saw the icons of a small speaker and a small microphone. Everyone understands that this one is talking and the other is obedient. He carefully clicked the mouse on the microphone, which would be his first communication with outsiders, and then said nervously, are you there? Is there? Can anyone hear me? Well, can't they hear me? It's a pity, I still want to chat with them about my idol. Hey, isn't this kid a noob? Can't you see the icon prompt? Can you hear me? Can't you see the icon yourself? Tell me where you are. I'll take you to upgrade. Xiaoming's heart warmed, and he said embarrassedly, can I still play like this? Isn't it very good? He is a socially impaired person. Apart from his family, he has never spoken to outsiders since he grew up. This is the first time he felt warmth from a stranger on the internet. It's okay, tell me quickly. Oh, I'm at XXX. Ha, here I come. Hey, why did you kill me? Xiaoming cried loudly. The appearance of World of Warcraft caused a sensation all over the world. Whether you are a game fan or not, now you know about Antarctic Company and Shudan. On the hot search list of China's largest search engine, World of Warcraft ranked first, Antarctic Game Company ranked second, and Shudan ranked third. Anyone who opens a search engine, whether he wants to surf the internet or find a movie, will always have this information at the first sight anyway. It's hard for people not to know. In the United States of New York, under the Antarctic Games building, reporters will be surrounded by reporters every day. Now their enthusiasm for pursuing Shudan is not weaker than that of Tony Stark back then. The media is so ruthless, whoever has the enthusiasm will look for it. However, Shudan only held a press conference, and all the rest were expelled with security forces. Although he is famous now, he is not the object of harassment by these boring people all day long. In the island country, the two-dimensional culture here is developing very rapidly. At the same time, under the policy of the island country, many social mobs have been bred dead houses. Their basic conditions are relatively good, and it is very convenient to play games. Many dead houses can get up in the middle of the night to queue up for an ordinary game. Not to mention the masterpiece of Nanji Game Company. Since the first work of Nanji Company, countless otaku gentlemen have been blocked. In countries such as Europe and the United States, when they see the ultimate picture quality, they just feel very pleasing to the eye and look comfortable. They pay more attention to whether the game is fun or not. The players in the island country are different. From the very beginning, they first pay attention to the female characters in the promotional film. After downloading the game, it does not follow the usual path, such as The King of Fighters and Warcraft. After a game world like World of Warcraft appeared, they didn't take the mission at all, but drove a broken trumpet, running around the whole continent, looking for beauties everywhere. Beauties with names, beauties without names, and even better-looking female monsters have all become the objects of YY for these perverted gentlemen. Under high-level optimization, there are many beauties on the continent of Azeroth. Definitely, the premise is that they are beauties in the setting, and the optimization just follows the setting to make the modeling more realistic. The beautiful face will be more beautiful, and the ugly face will become very real. Due to a certain culture of the island country, they even played role-playing when filming. Even a low-level succubus in the continent of Azeroth can become the object of their pursuit. There are even some nerds, he can live a lifetime with virtual characters. As soon as the name Shudan was mentioned, they could not wait to kneel down and worship, kissing the tip of Shudan's shoes like devout believers. However, Shudan will not allow this disgusting behavior. Now, he also played his own World of Warcraft. Unlike ordinary players, he reserved a hand for himself and created a full-level character. This character is not only fully leveled, but also can be easily replaced with the best equipment in Azeroth. In simple terms, this is building block GM. When I played this game before, all I saw were edges and corners, but now, it's like sitting on a plane for sightseeing. As he spoke, Shudan's character touched the big black dragon mount under his feet very vividly. After high-level optimization, this big black dragon is very realistic, even the fine lines on the dragon are clearly visible. This Shaunai, the flight speed is pretty good. If there are old players of World of Warcraft, again, they will definitely exclaim, because what Shudan is riding is Deathwing. The dignified Lord of Darkness, the Asgardian of the Earth, has found someone else's mount at this moment. You know, most players are still excited about acquiring a new skill for several days now. But he already has a mount GM like Deathwing, which is really awesome. Play online games as sandbox games. The optimized version of Azeroth is beautiful and big. There are all kinds of creatures in this world, humans, elves, trolls, tauren and so on. Definitely, there is also the very famous Burning Legion with the whole world acting as the villain. The Burning Legion has only one purpose, and that is to destroy the world. They're going to burn the entire physical universe into flames. The reason for doing this is because they are trying to prevent the Master of the Void and his servants from seizing the physical universe in the most extreme way. Regardless of the meaning of this method, it is the same as the behavior of, I am afraid that he will catch a cold, so break his leg quickly. The setting is like this. The demons born in the distorted space cannot be killed, so in the view of blackened Titan Sargeras, the universe can continuously give birth to new life, so evacuate first to clear the world, and then the void can be eradicated. In the end, new life was born in the universe and entered a new era. Through the code, Shudan came to the minister of the Burning Legion. The Burning Legion is destroying the world, and the world they most want to destroy is Azeroth. He saw the scene of the Burning Legion's invasion of Azeroth. I especially remember the CG of the opening scene of the war melee when the King of Fighters was released. In fact, that is reflecting today's scene. It is estimated that when the players are of sufficient level to get to know the Burning Legion, they may also learn about today's scene. At that time, they will know how deep the hole dug by Antarctic Game Company is. Shudan looked down, and the magnificent epic battles all made people excited. Soldiers of the Burning Legion must get rid of the indescribable succubus. It is estimated that when the players see the optimized version of the succubus, they will probably rebel in minutes. More formally, Hell Warhorse is a pretty good sight. The four hooves of the Hell Steed stomp on the flames like as steel fished out of the fire. The color of the flames was already very eye-catching, and groups of Hell Horses were galloping, like countless fireballs leaping across the ground. That scene was extremely spectacular. To say that the most eye-catching one is the Void Terror. This kind of demon is very much like the summoned beast of the Bone King. It has two thick legs like stone pillars. There is no human body on the legs, but an aggregate formed by twisting several heads together. There are bluish fangs on each head, their eyes are blood red, and rows of sharp horns protrude from the top of their heads. The whole appearance looks extremely terrifying. If you are bitten by this thing, you may will be torn to pieces and swallowed in minutes. Shudan shuddered subconsciously. Fortunately, he was just a bystander and hadn't traveled to the Azeroth continent. Otherwise, who would weep for? Exited the game world, Shudan set his sights on the points mall of the system. In the lower right corner, the points balance skyrocketed at a very satisfying speed. After staring at it for a few seconds, the speed of the number rising is balanced and fast. Obviously, it's the players who are going crazy day and night. In the past, everyone played the King of Fighters for a few hours, and they were temporarily tired and didn't want to play anymore. While playing Warcraft, although you can also experience the sense of compactness after playing one round and want to play the next round, you will always lose your strength because of defeat. But World of Warcraft is different. In this beautiful and wonderful world, players seem to be exploring and discovering new worlds, often discovering new things. Not to mention, there are also exciting group boss fights, team battles and so on. They spend their game time completely unknowingly. Day and night alternate, but there is no reaction. It turns out that one day has passed. The student party who was about to go to school looked horrified, and immediately took out their mobile phone in fright, lied to the teacher and asked for sick leave. There was no other way, and they forgot to do their homework. And the office workers just looked like shit, and they didn't feel sleepy at the moment. They reluctantly watched the game for the last time, and finally washed their faces in cold water, and took the bus to work. It turned out that there was a large group of cultivators. The system's points soon exceeded 10 million, and it was running towards 20 million. It is estimated that in about a week, it will be 100 million points. It just doesn't feel so good. Tuck 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 tuck. There was a knock on the door. Shudan immediately put away the system panel and said, "Come in." Riva walked in with a document. Judging from the expression on his face, it was probably a happy event. "Dan, Guinness has set a record for you, best gamer." Huh, Shudan looked confused, and hurriedly took the document and read it. He has also seen those game developers who have been awarded Guinness World Records certificates before. For example, Hideo Kojima from the island country was included in the Guinness World Records, Game Edition 2008, with his Metal Gear. But now, what the hell is this, best gamer? Why does it sound like a cheesy title given by a third-rate show? He looked at the document in his hand, and his expression slowly eased. It turned out that this was a mischievous Liwa, who directly referred to the Guinness World Records project. "I don't care about this thing at all. I haven't even applied for it. What authority do they have to authenticate me? Dan, be proud of yourself. Is there any other news?" Well, many companies are already preparing to unite to suppress us. Not only the game industry, but others, such as the clothing industry, are targeting us. Shudan looked at Liwa's pretty face with an expression of seeing a ghost, and said with a helpless smile, "It's really a big tree that attracts the wind. Our sapling hasn't grown much yet. We were targeted just like that. This also shows that we have great potential, doesn't it?" Liwa's face was relaxed, as if the success of the company was her glory. "See it in your eyes and feel comfortable in your heart. You seem to have something on your mind." Liwa hesitated for a while, and finally said, "Recently, I heard that the professor is ill, and I want to go back to visit." After Shudan knew Liwa's identity, he naturally also knew the existence of that bald professor, but that old guy is still sick now. Isn't he surrounded by capable people in various industries? Professor X is of great significance to Riva. Mutants are a discriminated group in this society, and the professor gave these children self-confidence and the motivation to live on. Seeing the emotion on Liva's face, Shudan agreed. "Go ahead, bring some presents, and send my regards to the doctor by the way." Hearing this permission, Liwa's eyes widened in surprise. "You know, right now is the hot start of World of Warcraft. Any employee should devote himself to it, even if it is not too much to take a vacation. In this perfect start, all personnel must stick to their posts and not let World of Warcraft have any troubles. If any bugs are detected, they must be fixed in time." But now she wants to ask for leave. According to common sense, she will never be approved. But now, Shudan gave her a nod of approval so easily. She felt that she was pampered. In fact, World of Warcraft, written by Shudan, will never have bugs, let alone cheats. This is true of every game. "Thank you." Liwa still thanked politely, then stepped forward and obediently gave Shudan a kiss. "Go early and come back early." Shudan slapped Liwa's buttocks and said. As the boss's personal secretary, Liwa still recognizes this logo very much. She doesn't need any proof to leave. She went to visit Professor X, but she didn't need any gifts. But Shu Dan is a Chinese, and the customs are different, so she has to bring this respect to Shu Dan. After picking up some gifts from the company, she went to the underground garage, drove a car at her own expense, and drove towards Westchester. Professor X's academy is actually in New York, and the distance between the two is not far away, which is why Shu Dan assured Leva to go there alone. Here, in the eyes of the outside world, it is the Xavier Ability Youth School. Only a very small number of people know that this is Xavier's school. It's full of mutants, up to old stuff like Wolverine, down to 6 or 7-year-olds. The return of Lewa made the students here very concerned. It's like a mutant version of class reunion. The tasteless people they used to look down upon are now prominent figures in society. Antarctic Game Company. There are so many young people who love to play, how could they not know about it? Now that you know the Antarctic Game Company, how can you not know the spokesperson, Goddess Leva? Those who have social experience and those who have been studying in the academy have completely different temperament and mentality. The way they looked at Lewa was full of amazement and jealousy. Reva's appearance was already very good, but she was covered by depressing buffs all day long in school, and everyone hated it when she saw it. And now, she seems to be glowing all over. She's got the normal life most mutants can only dream of, and she's living it. They see Leva like this, but Leva doesn't have the slightest negative emotion when she looks at them. It's like the elders are looking at the younger ones. Reva directly ignored those shocked gazes and walked towards Professor X's office. Although Professor X is sick, he still insists on attending classes. Reva walked to the door, but did not bother Professor X's class. And Professor X, who is extremely powerful in perception, has actually already noticed Reva's return. He finished explaining today's knowledge as soon as possible, and let a group of children get out of class. Reva walked through the gate after the children left. Professor Leva, welcome back. Professor X smiled. The way he looked at Lewa was like the way an old father sees his little daughter. No matter what those think of Reva, he thinks Reva is a very smart child. Professor, your complexion is so bad, why don't you take a rest? Lewa asked with concern. It's okay, Reva, you seem to have changed beautifully, can you share it with me? Hearing this, Lewa smiled shyly, and after a little planning in her heart, she briefly told Professor X the story from when she met Shu Dan to today. Professor X is very excited when he hears the name, Shu Dan, again and again. Although he has a strong perception ability, he will not take the initiative to release it to the students who came to visit him. That is a disrespectful behavior. It's just that I never expected that Reva is actually with the very famous Shu Dan recently. He is an old man who is not out of date. He actually has contact with games and so on. He has also done a basic understanding of Shu Dan. He admired the young man very much. It can be said that Leva was saved. In the environment where mutant is discriminated against, the students of Xavier's school are often very confused about life. When they are young, they can still be attracted by play and consume energy day by day. But as they grow up, they will not be satisfied with the status quo and want to go out and see the outside world. But when they go to the outside world, they still run into walls everywhere. It is also impossible for the academy to keep mutant for a lifetime. It is really rare for a mutant like Reva to perfectly integrate into today's society and have her own goals in life. Professor X is interested in Shu Dan, adding personal life guidance on the basis of technology. Rewa, you fell in love with him. Hearing such a question, Leva was not shy, but nodded boldly. He is very charming, isn't he? Yeah, when I was young, I was as charming as him. While Professor X was having a heart-to-heart conversation with Leva, a blue figure suddenly hurried in. When Lewa looked back, she was a bloated person with a head like a blue-haired monkey. If it is an ordinary person, maybe just by this image, they can be scared to death. But Reva is a mutant, well aware of this situation, very common among mutants. And this blue gorilla is Beast, a very knowledgeable mutant. Reva greeted Beast politely, then moved aside. Hank, this is the 7th time you have barged in without knocking today. Professor X said with a feigned displeasure on his face. Beast scratched his head embarrassingly, and then quickly apologized. Sorry to interrupt your conversation. You came here for that thing again. Professor X asked, glaring at Beast. Beast nodded. The program for teaching simulated battles is too huge. I really can't finish it by myself. Are you sure you don't want to help me? Simulated battle, that is, in X-Men, Wolverine and others conducted a virtual battle. The scene is simulated by the machine, and everyone can do actual combat-level combat training in a special training room. It can help mutants to further control their ability, and it can also allow them to master a wealth of actual combat experience. This is a great benefit for X-Men. Hank, you calm down first. How do you think I can help you? Hearing Professor X's rhetorical question, Hank couldn't help being stunned. Yes, the professor is not proficient in this. Who else in Xavier's school can help him? But he was not convinced, and he wanted to complete the simulated battle machine. He said, then we can find foreign aid. Foreign aid. Mentioning this word, Professor X's rich brain started to run rapidly, and after talking with Liwa just now, the first person that appeared in his mind was Shu Zhou. Judging from Liwa's description, every game is completed by Shu Dan himself. And according to the reaction in the market, there has never been a bug in any game. Hank, what do you think of Shu Dan? Shu Dan. Shu Dan, Riva and Hank exclaimed at the same time. Professor, Shu Dan may be very busy. Liva explained for Shu Dan. I've seen Shu Dan's games, the procedures are indeed very strict, and many of his skills, even I am confused now. Hank nodded and said, if it is Shu Dan, I think it's okay, just like him he is a genius in game development, which coincides with our virtual battle. Hearing this, Professor X nodded, and set his eyes on Liwa. But the latter shook his head like a rattle. Sure enough, the water splashed out. It is impossible to save it. Ah, Hank, I know about this matter, I will contact Mr. Shu Dan afterwards, you go ahead. Hearing Professor X's promise, Beast was overjoyed, laughed, and hurriedly left the office with a stack of documents. After enjoying the familiar lunch at Xavier's school, Liwa drove towards Shu Dan's villa. Along the way, she was thinking, if Professor X contacted Shu Dan rashly, would Shu Dan feel that she had betrayed him? She doesn't want such a misunderstanding. Obviously going to Xavier's school to do a good deed, but in the end, if such an unhappiness is caused, and even worse, the relationship between her and Shu Dan is damaged, she is absolutely unwilling. If such a situation happened, Li Nuohao, then she might as well just die. She had the key to Shu Dan's villa, parked the car in the underground garage, and hurried upstairs to find Shu Danman. She wants to tell Shu Dan about her conversation with Professor X in advance, and give him a vaccination. With such a preconception, when Professor X finds Shu Dan again, she will have nothing to do with her. It can only be said that Professor X has had the idea of Shu Dan for a long time. The lobby on the first floor is the place where Shu Dan often stays, but today it is gloomy and the lights are dim. Liwa suddenly felt bad, her heartbeat accelerated instantly, and she walked up to the second floor anxiously. This sea view villa has only 3 floors, the first floor is very large and contains many entertainment facilities. And the entire second floor is full of bedrooms. As for the third floor, she has never been there. But when she walked into Shu Dan's room, she found Shu Dan was on the phone. Hi Shu Dan, I'm Charles Xavier. Shu Dan was slightly taken aback. Liwa just went to visit Professor X, and immediately called him this evening. Hello, he just said this greeting simply. I believe you should have learned about me from Liwa. Yes, Professor X. Shu Dan chuckled softly. After a series of ramblings, Professor X finally stated his purpose. My college needs to develop a virtual battle system, and I still need a helper in terms of programming, so I want to invite you to cooperate. Shu Dan couldn't help frowning. He definitely knows about the virtual battle system. When watching Marvel movies before, he has seen virtual technology many times. And the virtual battle in Xavier's school perfectly showed the kind in his heart. What is this? This is the prototype of the virtual holographic game. Back when domestic online novels were just emerging, there were countless online game novels that were virtual holographic online games, and often with a helmet, one could experience virtual holographic online games. Everyone who has been influenced by that online game novel actually wants to play that so-called virtual holographic game. Especially when seeing anime like Sword Art Online, Yinjia is extremely popular with virtual holographic games. Who wouldn't want to bring back Asuna in the game? The ultimate dream of an otaku. At one time there were rumors that a certain country already had the relative technology and had already started a pilot project. In the end, it was all just rumors. And now, Shudan feels that he may be able to implement this dream in the Marvel Universe. It's just that Xavier's school's virtual anti-fighting ability technique seems to be somewhat insufficient. They did special effects production in a special room, instead of wearing helmets for online games. If you want to really make a virtual holographic online game, I'm afraid you need biotechnology. But anyway, partnering with Xavier's school is a start. Look at what kind of sensation a mere World of Warcraft has caused. With one game, it has created such a great reputation all over the world. You don't even need to apply for it yourself. Guinness sent the record certificate to the company. Then think about what kind of scene it will be if a holographic online game is created. Will the whole world, at that time, be like the one in the novel, Global Online Games? The current global population is conservatively estimated at 7 billion, even if half of the population is settled in online games, that would be 3.5 billion. With a player base of 3.5 billion, what a terrifying statistic this is. Even if everyone doesn't have much time to play every day, the points are still rising at the speed of light. At that time, not to mention how awesome it is on Earth, I'm afraid even Asgard will have to consider his existence. Points are equal to and not only equal to strength. Okay, Professor X, then I will pay a visit in my spare time. Shudan said. At one end, Professor X smiled slightly and nodded emphatically. You are always welcome, Mr. Shudan. He originally thought that it would take a lot of effort to invite this great god in the video game world. But they didn't expect Shudan to be so easy to talk and persuade him so easily. In fact, they don't know that Shudan's desire for virtual technology is far greater than their desire for the battle system. After hanging up the phone, Shudan looked at the door with a smile on his face. That little girl, Liwa, was still quietly staying at the door, her eyes were full of fear. Liwa, come in. Hearing the name calling, Liwa trembled all over, and explained tremblingly, actually, I am. Stop talking, you come in for me first. Okay. Riva is going all out, domineering president. No matter what happens next, she will gladly accept it. Criticism is fine too. Take a beat. She walked towards Shudan CJDF anxiously. To his surprise, Shudan didn't mean to criticize him at all, let alone beat her up. Pop. Shudan stood up suddenly, pushed her to the ground with his backhand, and kissed her hard. Thanks to this little girl, I went to visit Professor X today, and by chance, I was able to connect with the line of Professor X. Connected him to the era of virtual holographic online games. The development of ordinary online games today still has its limits, and virtual holographic online games are the ultimate way out. Now, he's on the line. Liva, you are really a lucky star. From the King of Fighters, until today, Liva has brought too many harvests. If the system is a must for a traverser, then Riva is the best gift he gave him when he came to this world. Liwa was terrified by this operation. After listening to Shudan's words, Liwa slowly realized, aren't you angry? Angry. Shudan was taken aback for a moment, wondering, why should I be angry? I should reward you. Reward me? Yes, what reward do you want? I don't want anything, I just want to stay by your side. This is not something to be ashamed of, she has long been used to liking this person. If it was a few months ago, she might still have blushed, because at that time it was just the beginning of love, and she was not 100% sure whether she was in love with someone. And after getting along for so long, she already understood. She just wants to be with Shudan. There is nothing wrong with facing your heart directly. However, hearing Liwa's answer, Shudan was not satisfied. He frowned. Sensitive Liwa immediately felt a pain in her heart, and looked at Shudan's expression face to face. If he answered no in the next second, I'm afraid she would collapse on the spot. The power of mutant may be very strong, but the heart is generally fragile. Because I was discriminated against since I was a child, this is something I can't get rid of. However, Shudan's next words were beyond Liva's expectation. By my side. Do you think I might let you go now, little lucky star? While talking, Shu Dan's big hand became dishonest. I plan to hand over the company to you, President Riva. President. This goes directly from the secretary to the president. Where did this happen? Although she is relatively powerful in the company now, when it comes to regular careers, she is not as high as Sky. Not going through the procedure. At least give a vice president a period of time. Liwa was terrified, and she quickly declined. No, Dan, I don't think I can hold this position. Now our company is in a period of rapid growth, and we can't easily change the leader. You should lead us. Shu Dan agreed to Professor X and will visit Xavier's school someday. But choosing a day is worse than hitting the sun. The next day, the company is still routinely monitoring the World of Warcraft data, and nothing new happened. Anyway, World of Warcraft will not have bugs, so let Sky and others watch it all right. He chose to drive alone to Xavier Ability Junior School in Westchester. When he came here, he couldn't help being surprised in his heart. Because in his impression, Xavier's school should adopt a lot of mutants, big and small, very lively. But what is going on today? There's not even a single person outside. He walked into the corridor unimpeded all the way, entered here, and finally saw a few scattered people. Seeing him as a stranger, the little girls cast curious eyes. But there are only a few, 763, little girls. Could it be that Xavier's school is bankrupt and the population is so dying? He continued to walk forward, not knowing how long the corridor was. It wasn't until we came to a corner that we heard a gradually clear voice. Listening to that voice, it is as lively as a self-study class in high school. Wow, Jerry, your orc warrior is so handsome. I want the weapon in his hand. He's so handsome. I foo, where the hell are you? Where is the desert? I can't find you. You are also crazy in the game. Kai Ling, can you give me your elf to play with, AWSL? No, why does this voice sound like it was black in an internet cafe when I was a student? If you ask what is the most unforgettable thing in your student days, which one failed confession was it? Which one was the teacher's criticism? No, it's the 5 brothers who have been hacking all night. Although they are all colored pencils, they are just happy. Listening to this voice, it is simply a replica of that year. Out of curiosity, Shu Dan stepped forward and followed the direction of the sound source. Walking in this long corridor, he approached a door silently, and looked in through the small window on the door. In the room, there were actually a group of teenagers sitting in rows, with computers in front of them. This is the computer room. These should be mutant students. They didn't play outside, but they all ran here to get on the plane. As he got closer, the voice inside became clearer. Kai Ling, look at this skill, does he look like my experience? Wow, that's amazing. Does this grass look like $50? Huh, what? I mean, this game is so well done, I don't even want to take the professor's class. It's fun, but it's not as good as this. Squeak, Shu Dan accidentally pushed open the half-hidden door. With a slight sound, the mutant students in the classroom fell silent instantly like an electric shock. This is exactly the same scene as when the head teacher entered the classroom. It's just that the people below are all mutants with super abilities, and the ones on the stage are not teachers. Seeing Shu Dan's strange and handsome face, the students were stunned. But among these students, the ages are uneven, and there are always some older children who are in the rebellious period, and they are no strangers. Who are you? A big boy with an ordinary appearance stood up and asked. Although his face looks a bit mature, but in front of Shu Dan, they are all little kids. Shu Dan stared at this person, couldn't help but feel a little familiar. It seems to be some kind of fireman. In the X-Men story, there is an Iceman and a Pyro, and I still have some impressions of such opposing attributes. But since Iceman is not the main character, I didn't watch it much, and I can't remember what it looked like. Are you playing World of Warcraft? Hearing World of Warcraft from such a stranger suddenly is like hearing in an internet cafe in high school. You also play Master RBTN, what district? The atmosphere eased a little. Yes, we are indeed playing World of Warcraft, uncle, you don't know. A little girl said sharply, how many levels are you in the game? Let me tell you, I'm already level 15 alright, John is at level 23. Uncle, you haven't created a character yet, have you? Listening to the little girl taunting the uncle one by one, Shu Si's heart is not fluctuating. In his opinion, they are still children after all. How can adults and children be serious? However, he also knew the big boy's name, John. It seems to be the sad pyroman. He can't create flames, he can only control fire. He is a younger brother compared to Iceman's ability. Shu Dan shook his head amusedly. Unexpectedly, Burning John said again, "Hey, are you playing World of Warcraft? You can't be a cloud player." The second half of Burning Man's words caused the entire classroom to roar with laughter. The word, cloud player, has become popular on the official forum of Angie Game Company. Shu Dan shrugged helplessly, and walked towards Burning John. This guy is very familiar with the various cultural products of Angie Company. He seems to be a very good player. I have to trick him into charging some money. What are you doing? Seeing Shu Dan walking towards him, Nie Ren immediately took precautions. However, Shu Dan didn't have any trace of malice at all. He just walked to Burning Man's position, then picked up the mouse, and dropped the 23-level rubbish magician number on Burning Man's screen. Hey, what are you doing? Wow, he actually forcibly cancelled John's account. Is there any punishment? Punishment for forced withdrawal? I haven't heard of it. Are you playing Warcraft? Don't make noise. What is he doing? I saw that Shu Dan quickly tapped on the keyboard with both hands, and logged in with his exclusive account. Hehe, do you want to prove yourself? Judging by his appearance, he is nothing more than a few stinky money kryptonites, but World of Warcraft, charging money has no effect. Look, the ship is on board. Was startled. The air in the classroom suddenly froze. The silence was audible. After a long time, several mutant students at the front took a deep breath. What is that? On the computer screen, it's a dark dragon. Dragon, as long as there is a creature with this word, it will definitely not be weak. And this dark dragon is a purebred dragon. That domineering figure. Those destructive pupils. Anyone who has played World of Warcraft knows who this is. This is Deathwing, the king of black dragons, Neltharion. If seeing Deathwing from the perspective of a game character for the first time was too shocking, how about a human being standing on Deathwing's proud head? Deathwing. John rubbed his eyes, and asked a little uncertainly. But no one answered him. It seems that this is true. The little girl who was sitting next to him didn't dare to say a word anymore. Think about the merciless mocking of Shu Dan just to help John speak. Now I only felt that my face was on fire, so I quickly hid and grabbed John's skirt, and hid behind his back. However, things didn't turn out the way the little girl thought, that John would defend her like a hero, like a big brother. I saw that John stretched out his hand and forcibly broke the little girl's little hand from his skirt. This action is clearly drawing the line. The little girl was scared and wronged. The slightly older mutants, they are not so childish. What they are concerned about now is that World of Warcraft has only been released for such a short time, and the map in the game is very huge, and it is often necessary to run a long distance to do a task. Upgrade is even more difficult. It is difficult to upgrade. The improvement of the character's combat power, and the acquisition of skills are even more difficult. Just when they were still worrying about forming a group to push a small boss. What the hell are you telling me? Is there anyone who can use Deathwing as a mount? World of Warcraft has claimed to be no loopholes. If players find any loopholes or cheats, they can get a compensation of $1 million from Antarctic Company. So, who can explain? What is the difference between this dragon with fire surging under its skin, and the person standing on the dragon's head? They gradually shifted their gaze from the computer screen to Shu Dan. Shu Dan smiled slightly and didn't care about other people. Instead, he mysteriously approached Burning John, a mutant who was easy to be fooled in the play, but his inner defense ability was actually very poor. So, he was going to tell him a secret. Don't you know, World of Warcraft is for the first time, and you will have a chance to get a mysterious gift bag. Everything can be opened in the gift bag, and my mount is opened. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Listening to Shu Dan's devilish whisper, John's eyes widened. He looked at Shu Dan in shock, before turning into unconcealable ecstasy. Everyone looked at John suspiciously, but John, who was selfish by nature, did not intend to reveal this secret. He felt that he opened the door to a new world, and the fewer people who open this door, the better. John plans to secretly make it tonight. Maybe he can also offer an invincible reward like Deathwing. Think about how your character controls the flames, just like Vulcan descending to Earth. What an experience it will be. One word, cool. Poor child, who knows that he has fallen into Shu Dan's language trap. First of all, a one-time recharge is a chance to get a mysterious gift package. Secondly, the mysterious gift pack is a lottery, and Oh Huang's luck can only draw out good things, otherwise it is a thank you for your patronage. Looking at the people who had already shifted their targets, Shu Dan chuckled, logged out of his account, and quickly left the computer room. As soon as I went out, I found a blue monster rushing over. To be precise, it's mutant. Although the mutated gene made him look like this, the knowledge in his mind has never diminished. Hey, Mr. Shu Dan, the professor asked me to pick you up. I just rushed out of the lab. Sorry, I'm late. No problem, Mr. Hank. Hank is the name of this mutant. Definitely he also has a familiar nickname, Beast. You are very forgiving, sir. Shu Dan suddenly turned around playfully and pointed at John the Burning Man in the computer room, and said, Mr. Hank, I think the kids in your academy should take more intellectual enlightenment classes. Like that young man. And Hank just smiled, I think it's better to go to church. Whatever, this is your business. Shu Dan said indifferently, he was joking anyway. This way please, Mr. Shu Dan. Beast led Shu Dan to the direction of Professor X. After all, Professor X is the host here, and his body is inconvenient. It is necessary to meet the bald head first for the first visit. Tuck 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 tuck. Beast symbolically knocked on the door of Professor X's room, and the two walked in. As soon as he entered the door, he saw that very eye-catching bald head. Okay, Hank, you finally know how to knock on the door. You're welcome, Dan. Shu Dan looked at this bald head. If you observe it from the perspective of ordinary people, you will only think that it is a very educated old disabled bald head. However, he knew that it was this old, disabled and bald man who had the strongest brain in the world. Using a brain wave booster, his mental power can even cover the whole world. If he wanted to kill someone in the world, he could literally destroy their brains. Professor X, meeting for the first time. Shu Dan said with a slight smile. Professor X drove the wheelchair, moved out from behind the desk, and said while moving, Mr. Shu Dan, I'll cut to the chase, just like I said on the phone, we need your help with the electronic program. Why did you choose me? There are so many hackers in the world, such as your Xavier's school, there are many geniuses. Shu Dan asked the doubts in his heart. If Xavier's school wants to build a virtual battle room, it should have made a plan long ago, and talents from all aspects should be indispensable in the plan. Even if they line up, he, a businessman who makes games, won't be able to get his turn. Professor X turned his head and smiled, leading the two into the secret base that only X-Men can enter. I know you will ask such doubts. In fact, I didn't know who to choose at first, but after talking with Leva, I decided to choose you. That child Leva never lied. She said your ability is very strong, then I will also trust your 330 ability. I'm afraid it's not about technical reasons. Yes, Mr. Shu Dan, you are very sensitive. In terms of virtual combat system, it is not as complicated as your game making. You can find anyone who is proficient in this area. But why did I choose you? On the one hand, you have never discriminated against Riva, or mutant, your eyes are always calm. Secondly, I heard that all your games are written by yourself, so you must have very rich experience in combat systems. I have taken a fancy to your experience. Professor X said very sincerely. Shu Dan nodded. It was not difficult to understand Professor X's words. Thank you again, my Riva. Well, my elder is very optimistic about you. Shu Dan, if you need any help, please contact me directly. X-Men will definitely help you. Professor X narrowed his eyes and smiled. His appearance was quite kind. But it was this kind smile that made Shu Dan go crazy. How can this be regarded as the father-in-law's permission? The problem is, he has no plans to have any deeper communication with Leva yet. Riva is a modern woman with a free mind. And Shu Dan admits that he is a bit greedy. Will Riva allow it? This is also the reason why Shu Dan never made a promise to Leva. Everyone is entitled to be a capital trading firm in an open country. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.